And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Moving on to tonight's forecast, that low pressure area over the southwest interior moves north, and another development moves to the eastern Brooks Range over there. So areas of rain moving up in with that feature, and a lot of rain and showers here into the western, and kind of diminishing as you head down toward Bristol Bay from the western interior. Increasing rain across the mid and eastern interior, but having trouble getting all the way to the border. But Copper River Basin, pretty wet conditions, showers north Gulf Coast, a few scattered showers south central Alaska, back to the Aleutian Range, dry over the eastern Aleutians. Front brings rain into the southeast coast, and winds become more westerly and southwesterly and slowly diminish here across southern Alaska. For tomorrow, even lighter winds in store for the area, but still some showers west of the Alaska Range out to the southwest coast, Copper River Basin. Westward to about the Chugach Mountains, some shower activity. Otherwise, look for partly sunny skies, Cook Inlet up into the southern Susitna Valley. The way it looks at this point in time. Up to the north here, a lot of showers over the interior, and again, having a hard time getting over to the east side there toward the border. Showers mostly over the northern and eastern part of the southeast coast. Next storm out here to the west brings gale force winds into the western Aleutians tomorrow. And then for Saturday, that tracks eastward into the just southwest of St. Lawrence Island, and strong southwest flow here across the Bering Sea pushes that front right up to the coast. Rain and wind again pushing back all the way to the western Alaska Range. A break continues here for south central Alaska, Kodiak Island, and up to the north and northwest in advance of that system. Showers here over the Tanana Valley, Alaska Range, on down toward the Copper River Basin and North Gulf Coast. Coastal water forecast for the for tomorrow for the southeast coast. On the south coast of the Panhandle, west and northwest winds 15 to 20 knots, seas 9 to 12 feet. Central coast southwest at 20, south to southwest 15 knots for the north coast. Lynn Canal, small craft advisories, south winds 25 to 35 knots. Stevens Passage, southeast winds 20 to 35 knots. And for Clarence Strait, northwesterlies at 20. Those will fall off to about 15 knots, still from the northwest for Clarence Strait, and Stevens Passage south 15, south 20 for Lynn Canal, and some small craft advisories there along the coast of Prince of Wales Island, northwest 25. Central coast, westerlies 20 to 25 knots with higher gusts. North coast, west 10 to 25 knots. Prince William Sound, Friday, south winds 20 knots, seas 4 feet. Small craft advisories for the North Gulf Coast here. Southwest winds 25 to 30 knots. Cook Inlet, southwest winds 30 knots. So still pretty brisk tomorrow with 8 to 10 foot seas. Excuse me. Kamishak Bay and the Barren Islands, southwest 25 to 30 knots with 10 foot seas. Gosh. Southwest 10 for Prince William Sound on Saturday. Otherwise, west winds 15 to 25 knots. Southwest 30 knots for the Barren Islands, 25 knots, Kamishak Bay, southern Cook Inlet, northern Cook Inlet, southwest at 15. Kodiak Island for Friday, southwest winds 30 knots, seas 11 to 12 feet. Southwest 25 here for the Bristol Bay, with seas up to 9 feet there. Alaska Peninsula, west-southwest 20 to 25 knots. For Saturday, for the Alaska Peninsula, small craft advisories, 25 to 30 knot winds from the west and southwest. Southwest 25 for Bristol Bay, southwest 25 for Kodiak Island. Eastern Aleutians, southwest winds 20 knots for Friday with seas around 7 feet. Central Aleutians here to Amchitka Island, southwest 20 to 25 knots. Gale warnings back into the western Aleutians ahead of that next front, 35 to 40 knot winds forecast there. And then for Saturday, gales shift eastward here into Amchitka Island to Atka, and actually to Unalaska or to Unimak Island, 35 knot winds out of the southwest there, and for Unalaska Island, west-southwest at 30 knots with 8 to 11 foot seas. For the southwest coast, we've got west-southwest winds 25 to 30 knots. 25 knot southwest winds for the Pribilof Islands, southwest 30 knots St. Matthew Island, St. Lawrence Island, west winds 30 knots with 6 foot seas. For Saturday, gale warnings for St. Paul and St. George Island, southwest winds 35 knots with 13 foot seas. And Kuskokwim Delta coast, southwest winds 30 knots, south 30 knots for the Yukon Delta coast. St. Lawrence Island, south 25 knots, west at 30 for St. Matthew Island. Light northwest breezes here for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast tomorrow. Northeast at 10 for the central coast, east 15 for the west side. Chukchi Sea, west winds 20 knots with 4 to 6 foot seas. And for Saturday, we've got south to southeast winds for the Chukchi Sea at 15 to 25 knots. East winds 15 for the western Arctic coast. Northeast at 10 for the central coast. And picking up the winds a little bit here from Kaktovik, Barter Island, Demarcation Point. West 25 knots, seas 5 feet.